Watch the ride.
Well, hello there. This is a video that you lot have been requesting over the years so many times that I've had probably 2 PCs since I didn't make it. And people said, we'd like to see your editing setup and stuff. So welcome to the Spicy Creation Cockpit. Let's go over what I've got here. So obviously, the PC. I'll get onto the specs and looking at that closer in a minute, but I'm just going to generally go over things. The PC, 2 screens. I used to have a matching pair of these until one day the wind blew when they were on normal stands and one of them fell forward and I went to catch it and the screen broke on my hand. It was the lightest grab and just... So, I have mismatched monitors. Ignore that. I've got this Red Dragon mechanical keyboard. Up until now I've been using membrane keyboards because I'm just used to them. Very short press membrane keyboards. But then I wanted to get something mechanical, and for Christmas, or was it my birthday? My birthday, Reno got me this, which was on request. Very nice keyboard, highly recommend it. By the way, I will point out now, I am going to put links to my Amazon store of some of these products you can buy. That is affiliated, that means that if you buy it, I earn some dollar from it, so just be aware of that. But I have this equipment, I bought this with my own money and I use it, and I love it. And if I've got anything I don't like about it, I'll talk about it. The screens themselves are obviously on this central arm, but what I've also got on here, which I think is quite clever, is, well, I've got an Elgato face cam for streaming, that's here, and you may note that this is just a handlebar mount for a motorcycle camera. The advantage of this is I can have that in my face, and then I can fold it up and out the way. And then the same thing happens with this one folds up and I can put a digital SLR on here, so if I want to record a video facing back, you know, when I'm sat at the desk, that's right in the middle, with a quick release plate, which is a knockoff Manfrotto. And that literally is just a claw mount that grabs, and the top one is an actual bolt-on D-ring. But yeah, the advantage of that is it just folds away flat and out the way. Obviously the screens move out, so if I'm playing Call of Duty or something, I'll have that right out of my face. There's a little nose dent somewhere in there. I've got these cheap basic speakers, which are okay. I just use them for when I'm editing, because I do like to edit without headphones a lot of the time. This is the support crew. That little bandicoot has been here since day one. Respect him. At the back there you can see is an A4 graphics tablet, a Huion. They're actually pretty good basic tablets for if you want to use a stylus in Photoshop. I have my phone on a phone stand. Oh God, you can ask now because it's sat there. It's a Samsung AS52, something like that. Okay, so let's talk about the PC, and then I'll talk about the peripherals, and also the audio stuff that I use and what I think of it. Okay, this PC I built quite a few years ago now, but this is actually version 2 because I had to change the motherboard because the motherboard failed. I've also changed the GPU because my last one couldn't keep up. But yeah, let's start at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go through everything that is in this. It is a Meshify C case. Nice basic case. I like it. It's just got a couple of USBs on the top. The motherboard is a Asus ROG Strix B550F. As I say, this was got in an emergency because my other board failed and I needed to edit. But actually, it's been working great, so no problems there. Underneath the cooler is an AMD Ryzen 9 3900X 12-core CPU, which it's all right. It keeps up for most of the stuff I need to do. It is starting to lag a little bit these days, but I'm not complaining. I'm happy with my performance. I have 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RAM. This GPU was sold to me by one of my Discord admins because it was his old card and he sold it to me at a good price. Thank you for that, appreciate it. This is a Zotac Gaming NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 Ti. It's one of the editions because it's got all the fancy lighting and stuff, and I can't work out which one it exactly is. But what we will say is this. Both me and the dude that sold me this card both have the same cases, and to make this card fit in this case requires an amount of chopping. He did what we would call a hack job, and he admits to it. The more rip it out method. I actually cut mine out, and I'll show you some B-roll. As you can see, it actually sits out here into the front of the case, but it just fits. The card I had before this one, and I used up until last year with GoPro stuff, and it coped okay, was a EVGA GeForce RTX 2060. It worked. It did it, you know, that card pulled its weight. It wasn't the fastest, but it did get it done. Another thing to point out, if you know this case, is that you know you can't put a fan in the front without removing that plate that's there. Well, what I did was just trim mine down, and it actually is really good because it directs airflow through the power supply, which I'll tell you what it is in a minute, and also through the bottom here. So my airflow is really good, and that's a really easy way of adding something in by just chopping that down a little bit. Talking of cooling, I have an AIO, which is a Corsair Hydro 100i GB Platinum SE. It's the, you know, the standard twin fan one that lots of people use. The power supply again is a Corsair 750 watt modular. I can't remember the exact code on that, but yeah, that's what it is. Okay, and as for storage, I have two 1TB M.2s. One of them is for the operating system, the other one is for like quick access data for video editing and stuff like that, so the data rate as fast as possible without having it stored on the C drive, although I do end up keeping a lot of stuff on there just to make it... the program likes to crash a little bit, the video editor, if it can't get the data at the fastest possible speed. I also have a 4TB mechanical drive in this that I store my games on, and then we move on to something that I was watching the LTT WAN show last week, and Luke kind of called me out. I'm a creator with a shelf of external hard drives. This is two 3TB, one 4TB, and one 8TB, which I use for storing my data. Clearly, this is not an ideal solution, and it has required me to put an extra card in the case so I can get more USB ports. And even though I have all that storage, I'm now starting to run out, and I kind of need another drive. And that's a whole thing, because I don't run backups, okay, as such. I do have backups of really important stuff. It's stored online as well as on here. When it comes to my raw footage, I basically have a rolling system that over time, I delete away the raw footage if it's old. Some people want to keep every single piece of footage they filmed, and I can get that, but as long as I've got the end video that came out of it backed up and stored, I'm not too worried about losing the raw footage, as long as it's been a couple of years, because with the sorts of things that I do, time is important, and the value of that footage is not as much. So I'm not going to keep paying and paying and paying and paying to store vast quantities of data for just posterity more than anything. The actual made videos, yes, I get that, and that's all backed up, as I say. But I am at a position that kind of what's left on there I don't really want to delete now, because it's a lot of bike reviews and things like that. So in a tricky situation with that, it's very expensive to fix it. Obviously now people are going to say, you want to get a NAS, you want to get this, that and the other. Yeah, it's very expensive. Remember, I can get another drive for like 150 quid. A NAS with as much space as I would need is going to be hundreds and hundreds. I built this sort of bookshelf, hard drive shelf, and yeah, there is storage at the bottom for another 4, so, you know. What else is under here? The gaming controller I use, because when I do gaming on PC, I don't use the keyboard, I only use a controller. This is an Xbox Elite 2. These are amazing, and I know they're expensive, but my god, are they worth it compared to a normal controller. I love this thing. That headset is a Corsair HS70. They're garbage. Do not buy them. I'm not even going to go into it. Battery, all sorts of issues. Don't buy them. Don't like them. Get something else. This is something you can get, though, that I think is absolutely awesome. These are self-adhesive little drawers that just stick under your desk and open up. And obviously I've got my controllers in here for my lights, which I'll get onto in a minute. And then I've got my memory cards in this one, because I used to have a little pot on here, but it used to get knocked around and dusty. This, brilliant solution. Awesome little things. Yeah, you can look at my cable management. It's pretty good. Apart from, yeah, that don't look at that angle. There's not much I can do. Well, hang on, I can do this. There we go. There, I'll get onto that in a second. Then for sound, I've got this Behringer, I think it's called. This is basically a little. What would it be classed as? It basically plugs in by USB and allows you to plug in XLRs, so it's like a little amp. XLRs as in these. And it also lets you plug in other stuff and you have independent volumes of it. The reason I need that is because the microphone I use for the podcast with Jake and also for voiceover stuff and videos at the PC is a Rode PodMic Focus, which is on a cheap-ish Amazon stand. The cheap Amazon stand, that's just got like triangular plates with bolts in the corners, do not bother with one of those if you've got anything with any weight on it. This microphone weighs a pound, I think it is. And this arm can take up to 2 kilos. And thankfully, it means this works properly, that I can move it around and put it where I want, and it will actually stay where I want when I want it. And then it just folds out the way like this. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is a trackball mouse. These are awesome. Now, if you do gaming where you're using keyboard and mouse, you're not going to want to use one of these. Although I have played COD a few times, if COD doesn't detect your controller to start with, it reverts aiming to the mouse. So what I end up doing is having to use my left hand on the controller, my right hand on this, and I've actually won matches doing that. But you don't want to do that. But for when it comes to video editing, photo editing, and just being at the PC and being comfy, trackballs are amazing. This is the best one that I've ever used. They're not as cheap as they used to be. This is the second or third one I've had over 12 odd years. It's just so nice to use, it's so intuitive to use. You have a ring here, so you can zoom in and out with stuff, left and right clicks either side. I love these. So when I'm editing, I can have one hand over here for cutting and controlling some bits, and then my other hand is on this. I don't have to move around a huge amount. I can get very comfortable, get in a good position, and just edit for hours without getting uncomfortable. These are amazing, and I don't know why people look down on them so much. The reason I have this one as well, which was quite expensive, is because I wanted to try, the more traditional mouse shape, but with a thumb ball. This turned out to be great to get because it has a scroll wheel in the middle, which I do not have. That is not the same as this, although you could probably reprogram that, couldn't you? But anyway, the point is, this allows me to use some CAD programs, 2D CAD programs, much easier. So that's why I have that. But if you're interested in trying a trackball out, this is the one I recommend. I've tried lots of different ones. This is the one is the best. And I've used this for years. And this is, as I say, it's like my third one. You can see how polished parts of it are from me just sitting comfortably. This desk I built, which is custom made for me, because I'm 6'4", so I'm tall. This is a really high desk for most people, but it's great for me. But because of the chairs are never as tall as you want them to be, what I've done is I've built this little footrest that I can just put my feet on, and it's very comfortable to be here, although it ends up I'm rubbing the paint off the wall, as you can see. Standard toner printer for printing invoices for Etsy and stuff like that. I have stickers and keychains for sales still. Thank you for buying calendars, and thank you until next year for that one, because obviously they're done. That's that. Then, I mentioned the remote control. Okay, so the controller mentioned, that is the switch for it down there. I have these two light stands with newer lights, which they gave to me. That's the only thing I was given in this, the stands and the lights, and I've done a review on those years ago. They're absolutely great, I love them. Colour temperature and brightness can be adjusted. I've bought these soft boxes separately for them, and they are amazing. If you're going to use those LED panels directly on you, get soft boxes. There is two of them, as you can see. But that just turns these on. Boop. And the other control that was in the drawer is, LED strip lights. Turn it on. RGB ones, come on. The bin's in the way, there we go. Oh, and it's also a bit bright now, hold on. There you go. Obviously that's all programmable and I can make it whatever colour I want. Seriously, these drawers are awesome. Obviously this is all sound dampening foam that I have in here, because if I didn't, in this corner it'd be very echoey when I'm recording stuff, but this is actually working great. Also these tiles that help a lot. I've also got those tiles on this wall over here, and that really helps take the resonance out of that big long wall. So the sound is quite good in here. That's just, I've shown you before. This is all just camera storage for my normal photography stuff. I've got all my video stuff, amongst other stuff, like the GoPros and some sound recording stuff. It's a bit of a mess in here at the moment. To Do a little push light so I can see what I'm doing. This is a second desk that I made out of that worktop when I bought it. It was like whatever's left over is becoming a desk, and it was perfect. So I've got matching desks. I just stuck some cheap legs on it from Screwfix. But this is where I can do paperwork stuff. I can also do my leather work here, and my laptop there if I want to watch anything while I'm working. That's just a cheap Acer laptop. Obviously there's more sound deadening tiles here to try and stop the reverberations from filming here, which I've only just done because that used to be stuck on here and looked like a big hammer, not a dong. Now, one of the cool things about the way I've got this set up is that should I want to film at this desk, right, and I want more lighting, I just pull this out, swing it around, try not to take my head off, and that light stand is now directly over this desk. Such a simple little idea. But that makes lighting so much easier. As I've walked past this a couple of times, I should mention this. This is the tripod rig that I've made for my digital SLRs for filming. There is all sorts of adaptations and custom bits on here that I've made, and I have a whole video on this because this was all done on a budget. And in fact, it's one of the things I should point out, and should have pointed out at the beginning. I've always been working on a pretty tight budget, so nothing you see here is particularly expensive. The most of the money went into the internals of that PC to make it work, because it needs the power to actually edit decent quality video. As I said when I was building this room out, I wanted to make my ideal creating space, and this is what I've got. It's quiet enough most of the time. I'm comfortable. I've got desks which are built for my height. Everything's organised, and I've tried to optimise on everything to try and make it as useful as possible without extra stuff. Actually, I'm going to point this one out too. This little collapsible laptop stand, they're amazing. They're really cheap and they're absolutely great, and obviously you can fold these out, have them at whatever thing you want, and then they expand on scissors so the width doesn't matter. Ta-da! Okay, so software. People ask me what do I use. Here you go, here is what I use. Obviously there's the normal stuff, and then we've got Insta360 Studio. That is for processing Insta360 video footage from like a 360 to the views that I use in my videos. I actually edit the videos themselves in Movie Studio 16 Platinum. I do not advise getting anything newer than this because Magix and Sony split, and now what they sell is not the same thing, so I don't advise it. Discord's obviously for my Discord. If you want to be on my Discord, join Patreon. Creature is a drawing program if I need to do any drawing with my graphics tablet. Draftit is the 2D CAD program that I use that mouse with. OBS is for recording games and anything screen capture wise. I'm recording this in OBS. Rode Central is to do with my Rode mics, the wireless mics I use for recording videos. The Elgato camera hub is obviously for that Elgato face cam. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then obviously just got my games, and this is the way that I work things, okay? I have work from, which is if I come home from making a video, I'm going to make a file in here and put all the footage in that folder, and then I'll edit it on here. Then when I've rendered a video out, it goes into rendered out here. And then every now and then, I will take all the stuff from here and put it into my raw folders, move the rendered out videos into my vlog vault, as it's called, and also they're saved elsewhere. And that's how I do this rolling thing with the data, where it's here and then it's moved to the drives, and then once it's on those drives, it either stays or it gets deleted. You can see on the bottom bar here, I also use Lightroom for my photography, an old version of Photoshop because it does things better than the new one, the new Photoshop, and also the beta version. The beta version is absolutely amazing, some of the stuff that can do, but still, for simplicity, I have one of the old versions because it just does one particular job much easier. And then there's the OBS logo. So there you go, that's software. So there you go. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. The weather looks like it's going to go nicer. I can get out on some motorcycles and actually do some things, but I'm also going to start very soon the build series maintenance series of my motorcycles that I said I was going to do this winter. I'm going to start with the DR because that's some very basic stuff, paintwork, rust, and just general, as I say, maintenance. My XJ6 may need a clutch, I think, clutch cable, oil, a bit more. So it's gonna, it should make some good videos. So subscribe. So subscribe if you'd like to see that. Bye.